De pura vida, mi gente. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. Pura vida. ¿Qué me dice mi gente? ¿Qué me dice? ¿Qué tranquilo? Wow, wow. 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 Pura vida. Let me know when you're in the house. Let me know when you're in the house. Yo, Mad, yeah. Real quick, man. Real quick, man, just in case. DMC in it soon. DMC in it. Wow, wow. What's up, female Noah? How you doing? You first. What's up? What's up? Pura vida, mi gente. Pura vida. There we go. Okay. Shalom, shalom. Pura vida, pura vida, pura vida. Wow. Now we can get some music in the background. Pura vida. Salute, salute, salute. Just wanted to go ahead and introduce this book real quick. We're going to be reading. I think it has a lot of good drops we're going to pull out of it based on what it was. People sourcing it, on other things I'm investigating. They source this book a lot, so I just bought the physical. I couldn't find the PDF, even though all of a sudden it's on archive.org. All of a sudden, and I swear I looked in there first. That's where I always look first, and it wasn't. And then as soon as I bought it, they put it in there. I guess I don't know. Played on flutes. That's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna play on flutes right now. Yeah. Wow. How you guys doing? Hope you're having if you gather with family during this time of the year, hope you're having a good time with your family. You know, at least that part is always good. I would say. Wow, wow, wow. Child of Israel from Scotland. Okay. What is the title again? Hold on, I'm gonna show you. Don't worry. Like, you guys, I'm just waiting for people to come in. All right. I'll show you guys. Let me just put on some background music. Make sure the chat is still going. Okay. Hey, how you doing? Hello. Shalom, 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 shalom. So we're gonna get into the preface. I'm not gonna read like a lot today. Just want to introduce the book we're gonna be getting into. So the book is called Slaves Without Masters. All right, Slaves Without Masters. The Free Negro in the Antebellum South by Ira Berlin. Ira Berlin was big A. Who's that in the cover, man? Some say that's Abraham Lincoln. We're still digging on it. We're still digging on it. It might be Abraham Lincoln. Come on, focus. There we go. I'm in trouble focusing. Yeah. That might be Abraham Lincoln. We're still digging on it. We're still digging on it. You know? Open. Let me see. Hey, James. Appreciate the love, man. Check out James' channel. He just donated on the chat, so you guys can go just click on his channel. Check it out. All right. Was just listening to Joe Rogan. Brought his pigs. Yeah, they brought their pigs. Not just him, but the Spanish brought their pigs over here. We had wild boars. We didn't have like the albino pigs that were the famous pigs of today. They're albino. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Let me get the healing native flutes going. All right. Get that going. Come on, nothing want to work. Nothing wants to work today. Wow, wow, got it. Oh, so they did bring. Yeah, they brought the pigs. Come on, man. They brought the pink ones, the albino ones. Yeah, we had wild, you know. Make sure it's not too loud because I want to be able to hear me. Is that a good background? That good for the background? All right. So what we're gonna read today, it's just a couple of the preface. There's two prefaces, right? So preface of the 2007 edition, right? And it starts out really interesting. You know, he starts breaking down about the tags people have, right? So-called black folks, right? So it says in the preface, right? That's what we're reading. Yeah, this won't focus. It's like on portrait or something. Yeah. So it says on this book, again, we're reading Slaves Without Masters. The Free Negro in the Antebellum South. This is supposed to be a rare thing. There was actually a lot of so-called free Negroes in the South. Who was your Confederates? Who was your plantation owners? History has been whitewashed. All right. This is just a little part of it right here. Movies with Netflix, a little off topic, but hey, okay, do what you have to do. You guys can hear me good, yeah? It says, even when Slaves Without Masters, the Free Negro in the Antebellum South was published more than 3 decades ago, the subtitle sounded a bit anachronistic. Black, in parentheses, right, as a descriptor for people of African descent, that's the hijack. So we got that's the hijack a little bit, right? I mean, people of color, right, or melanated people, so-called black people, right? So black, the word black, he's saying as a descriptor, had not yet replaced Negro when he first wrote this book on the masthead of the Journal of Negro History, but it had been ousted nearly everywhere else. In fact, black itself was under siege from Afro American. All right. So then what happened? Afro Americans started coming out, right? So black replaced Negro, then African American, right? They're saying replaced the other one, right? And then from African American. So Afro American first, they're saying, and then from an African American. They dropped the Afro, they switched it to African. The latter sometimes hyphenated and sometimes not. And the author says, I stayed with Negro, as it was true to his subject. People of African descent, that's the hijack, they mean black folks, who enjoyed freedom in the southern United States prior to the Civil War, emancipation, generally were called and called themselves free Negroes. Although in the cities that fronted the Caribbean and South Atlantic, most prominently New Orleans, Mobile, Savannah, Charleston, where the vast majority was of mixed racial origins, they sometimes adopted free people of color, or gens de couleur in French, right? People of color, gens. More than 3 decades later, with the opportunity to bring the book in line with contemporary usage, I decided to keep the old title for the same reasons I had selected it in the first place. Free Negro may not be politically correct. It remains, however, historically correct. Now, I just want to remind you guys, we went into that book free African Americans of North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and they were talking about Abraham. What's his name? I forgot the last name already. But we were talking about the Waccamaw Indians, right? The Waccamaw Indians, and they were in that book, free African American listed as free Negroes. They weren't listed as Indians, so they had already in that book reclassified them. So don't just think, if you guys are new to the channel, and I know a lot of you are, I can tell. You got to catch up. You got to understand that there was so-called black Indians, there was black Europeans, coming. There was already black Indians here, so-called, and both these groups, both peoples got grouped together, and as he was saying in the beginning, started being called Negro, Black, African American. All right, so that's why there's a big confusion. A lot of people. Okay. But if the title seems a good fit after 30 years, much else has changed in the study of Southern free Negroes. At the time I undertook to write on Southern free people, the subject was at best an obscure sidecar of American history. Indeed, African American history, that's the hijack, of any sort was practiced only in a few historically black colleges, and historians of the antebellum South showed only sporadic interest in free people of color. Only one full-length article on Southern free Negroes had appeared in the major American historical journals. In the Journal of Southern History, the organ of the Southern Historical Association had not seen fit to address the subjects directly, except for the work of a handful of African American scholars, led by E. Franklin Frazier, Luther B. Jackson, James Hugo Johnston, we've read a lot of his stuff, E. Horace Fitchett, and John Hope Franklin. There was no sustained interest in the subject. Interestingly, these scholars were often trained in sociology rather than history. All right, and these same scholars added the African; they were Pan Africans, sociology, huh? Okay, yeah, I don't block people unless they get really disrespectful or very stubborn. You might get timed out if you're off topic or you're just disagreeing with something else and trying to distract from the live chat. My moderators are ready. My moderators are ready. The drones are gathering. You know what though? I did want to. Too bad I can't do it, but we might get some trolls because it's. I usually have subscribers only, but I'll let other people. So be ready, guys. Okay. So these scholars were only trained in sociology rather than history. By choice and perhaps necessity, they generally published in the Journal of Negro History. Slaves Without Masters drew upon this masterful, if segregated, historiography, but was also a part of the explosion of interest in slavery and its related institutions inspired by the civil rights movement. The work of historians who had turned to the task of rewriting the history of the slave South amid sit-ins, freedom rides, and marches for racial equality in the 1960s emerged a decade later. In rapid-fire succession, the blockbuster reinterpretations of slavery appeared. John Blassingame's Slave Community from 1972, Eugene Genovese's Role, Jordan's Role, 1974, Robert Fogel and Stanley Ingerman's Time on the Cross, 1974, and Herbert Gutman's The Black Family in Slavery and Freedom, 1976. They ignited a series of controversies of Genovese challenged Blassingame, Fogel and Eagerman challenged Genovese, and Gutman challenged them all, so they're all debating. Others joined in a free-for-all. This historiographic war of all against all, however, bypassed the history of Southern free blacks. Although Genovese wrote an important essay on Southern free Negroes, the others paid little mind to the free people. Slaves Without Masters, along with several important state studies of free people of color, appeared with little fanfare and maintained a kind of non-combatant status. That, of course, has changed dramatically in the 30 years since the publication of Slaves Without Masters. Free blacks, or free people of color, as they are now nearly always denominated, have attracted enormous scholarly and considerable popular attention, often putting them at the center of important debates. Books, totaling into the scores and articles into the hundreds, have reached print. The annual dissertation abstracts regularly announces the completion of another doctoral thesis on some aspect of free black life, and the meetings of major historical associations regularly featured on one or more sessions on Southern free people. A random search of the internet for free blacks, free people of color, and other related subjects like mulattoes, manumission, self purchase, and passion reveals dozens of websites that speak to the subject of the Southern free people. Interest in Southern free blacks has vaulted the bounds of the academy and attracted a more general audience, suggesting the growing engagement with what once was a curiosity. The National Park Service has restored the home and shop of William Johnson, the free black Natchez barber, making them into a heritage destination replete with a visitor center and museum. Johnson's modest row house now competes with Dunleith, Monmouth, and other white pillared Natchez plantation mansions for tourist dollars. All right, a competition that the wily barber, who named his own modest estate Hard Scrabble, would have appreciated. Likewise, Thomas Day, a free black craftsman, whose reputation once survived only within the tiny North Carolina hamlet of Milton, had been elevated to a central role in North Carolina history. A statue of Day stands in front of the North Carolina Museum in the state capitol. His home and workshop are being reconstructed. His cabinetry attracts hundreds of admirers to house tours, and his furniture, now museum pieces prized beyond the reach of all but well-heeled collectors, is being reproduced for a mass market. Thanks to Laurel Sneed and the Thomas Day Foundation, Day and his workers, white and black, free and slave, have become part of the curriculum in numerous schools, so some far beyond the boundaries of North Carolina. Okay? Hawa, Hawa, Shalom, welcome, welcome. The growing presence of free blacks like Johnson and Day in the history of the South is matched by a similar presence in its imaginative literature. A fascination with the seeming conundrum of black ownership of slaves is but one intersection of fiction and nonfiction, as both novelists and historians have again returned to a subject that has been debated for more than a century. In 2003, a jury of distinguished critics awarded Edward P. Jones' The Known World, the story of a black slave owner, a Pulitzer Prize. Black slave owner, all right? Slaves without masters. This is supposed to be taboo. Like, no. There was many, many guys. Like, as the truth starts coming out, you guys are going to see there was a lot of so-called black slave owners. A lot of the time, a lot of people like, well, that was only, if blacks had slaves, that was only because they had families. Not always, guys. Like, you guys can be biased. They did have indentured servants. They did have pale-skinned people working under them. They did have random people they hired to work in their plantation, not just family. But yeah, a lot of the time it was family, and that's the case in most cases. Like, even when you're assuming the person was white, a white slave master, he has his family under him a lot of the time working. It wasn't just black Africans and a white evil slave master. Like, you guys got to break out of that, catch up on the videos. We've proven this, you know. Growing interest in Southern free blacks has been fueled in part by the employment of new sources, many of them unearthed since the publication of Slaves Without Masters. The discovery of the letters and diaries of free black gin maker has provided the basis for Michael Johnson and James Rourke's extraordinary biography, Black Masters, a free family of color in the Old South. And we've read that book, right? They're going to mention probably William Ellison. Yeah, they are. That's what I'm seeing right now. You guys know I got a whole video on William Ellison. He was the biggest cotton producer in the South, biggest cotton plantation owner in the South, a so-called black man, William Ellison. Catch up on the videos. Shalom. Shalom. Welcome, welcome. Try to empty your cup as you come in the door. Try to, absorb everything we're saying, reading, and just verify. Verify, please. I got the video, I got the workup. Okay? So, as the subtitle suggests, Black Masters not only chronicles the transformation of a slave boy named April into William Ellison, a wealthy slave-owning artisan and planter, but also flushes out the familial and kin ties, black and white, that knit together a sprawling South Carolina lineage. So they were trying to make April, aka William Ellison. His dad was William Ellison. His dad was the plantation owner. William never worked in the fields picking cotton. He was apprenticed to learn the cotton gin industry. All right, this is the stuff they try to make him a slave in history, and they would have kept him a so-called African slave that just got privileges from his white slave master until they found these letters in this house. You guys got the video. Go watch the video. If they didn't find those letters, they would have lied to us in history in school about who he was, his relationship to William Ellison, his dad. But this was the biggest cotton plantation owner in the South, William Ellison. All right. And we wouldn't have known that if they never found the letters in modern times. They found these letters hidden in the basement. Okay. Similar discoveries have provided new understanding of the Rapier-Thomas clan of Alabama, Tennessee, and Missouri. Andrew Dunford, a Louisiana sugar planter, and the Healey's, born of slave woman and an Irish-American planter in Georgia. Okay, so Irish-American, does that mean so-called white? And that's the other thing we got to start dodging the hijack on. Like, many black Irish came, many black Scots came, many, black Europeans came, guys. Hundreds of thousands of black Europeans came as indentured servants, colonists, prisoners of war, convicts, conquistadors, all of the above, all right? Not just conquistadors. People try to they not us. Like, these people are in your family. It's not just Indians. They mix with American Indians. A modern day Samaritan. I'm glad you're blown away, but I really hope you catch up on my older videos so you can see all the sources, that I'm not just making anything up right now. We've proven all this. All right? We've proven. Hold on, let me just, my screensaver. All right. Wow. Thanks for tuning in either way. So, the Healy's born of a slave woman. That could have been an Indian. That could have been a black European. That could have been anybody. And an Irish-American planter in Georgia. So this Irish-American could have been, black, or he could have been an ex-indentured servant himself that got his freedom. They only had to work 4 to 7 years in general. And then they would get their freedom, and then they would create their own plantation, have their own indentured servants. And this is more of your real slavery of America than what they teach us in school, and we've proven it. So an Irish-American planter in Georgia, freed and sent north in a furtive bargain where they became, among other things, leaders of the American Catholic Church. You guys hear that? The Healy's, colored folks, coming out of half Irish, might be Indian, right? They moved on to leaders of the American Catholic Church, huh? Their histories provide a fuller picture of the precarious balancing act that allowed some well-connected and proper-tied free people of color to gain their recognition, patronage, and sometimes respect, although never social acceptance of prominent white Southerners. Disfranchisement, right? Because of their skin color. The systematic rendering of familiar sources, particularly notarial records, and legislative and judicial petitions, has likewise expanded historical understanding of free blacks whose connections were closer to slaves and to slave owners. You see, this is what I'm saying. You gotta dodge the hijack. This is the preface of the book. Only because they're black, he's saying that. That's not true. they have to be more related to the slaves and the slave owners. No, that's not true. And if you start catching up on the videos, you'll see deeds of manumission, county order books, land conveyances, and court findings, many of them on microfilm or in some machine readable form, have long been available. Lauren Schwarzenegger's massive compilation of petitions to state legislatures and county courts related to slavery has enlarged the significance of these records for the study of free blacks, although often wrapped in the language of the law, all right, legalese. These memorials give the free people a voice, and no single group of Southerners had greater reason to appeal to state authority for relief of some restrictions on their liberty. Okay? Employing these records with great diligence and ingenuity, Melvin Patrick Ely has traced the development of free black settlements of Israel on the Appomattox River. Black settlement called Israel, right, on the Appomattox River, called Israel. While Joshua Rothman, using similar records, has untangled relations among free blacks, slaves, and whites, so-called whites, in Thomas Jefferson's Charlottesville. Now, we all know the story about Thomas Jefferson, right? We got his genealogy, how he hooked up with a black woman, Sally. He had babies with her. Their descendants know who they are. They're so-called black descendants of Thomas Jefferson. You know, and we also question Jefferson's, appearance too. Many Jeffersons are so-called black today. That doesn't mean they got that from a slave owner, right? Like, this is what I'm saying. These are your last names, guys. These are your last names. So when the Nation of Islam is trying to change people's names, they're saying, oh, that's the slave masters, you got to drop that and get Muhammad, Khalid, and all the Bey and all this other stuff. That's hijacked. I'm sorry to say it, but that's straight disconnecting you from your family, from your heritage. It might connect you to Indians. It might connect you to Black Europeans. So don't disconnect yourself from your last names, guys. Look into them. However, no one has dug deeper in Southern notarial records or legislative and judicial memorials than Paul Hennig. All right, Paul Hennig is the guy who wrote Free African Americans of North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland. We're going to get into that book more. A lot of your families are in there. A lot of those people are Indians, but they're being called free Negroes or free African Americans in that book. But we proved it the other day in my Waccama video that they were Indians and they were put in there as free African Americans. We proved that without a doubt. So how many more examples of that do we have? Probably. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. And just so-called whites, even the passion for whites, for black folks, So Paul Hennig, whose detailed genealogies of nearly every black family in colonial and early national Delaware, Maryland, North and South Carolina, and Virginia, documents the interracial realities at the base of the American family tree. Interracial. All right? Material artifacts previously ignored by historians have provided yet another avenue to expand historical understanding of Southern free blacks. The furniture built by Thomas Day, the houses constructed by James Boone, and the bridges engineered by Horace King provide a sense of the economies, as well as the artistry that governed the lives of free people of color. Whatever the skill, knowledge, and creative talents these men brought to their work, these new sources reveal that they were first and foremost businessmen and meshed with a network of credit and debt that linked them to white planters and merchants. Thus the hijack, they only calling them white because they know they had European ancestry. And also white a lot of the time was status, not complexion. Alright? I know this might sound confusing to the new people. But again, they're just going off their ancestry. If they know they were English or they know they were Irish, they will call them white. Even if they were so-called black. We just learned the other day, right, watching the Nation of Islam videos, who were they calling white? Middle Easterns, Moors. I mean, free white in the Black's Law Dictionary includes Moors and all Jews from Europe, including Sephardic Jews, right? And Moors, North Africans, all that. So don't get it twisted, right? We gotta dodge the hijack when we're reading, these modern books. Okay? So link them to the planters and merchants, as well as to upward striving non-slaveholders and slaves who created their own small economies. Such connections were as much as part of the free black life as the domestic intimacies that tied them to, says, free white and enslaved black families. So this is what I'm saying. So what's free white? According to Black's Law Dictionary, fourth edition, free white includes Moors and all Sephardic Jews. So all Jews from, yeah. Lauren Schreweningers and Juliet E.K. Walker's accounting of free black wealth, as well as Douglas Bristol's probing analysis of the critical occupational niche of barbering, are just three of the studies that reveal the expansive character of black entrepreneurialism. Employing new sources and the rendering of family ones have pushed the studies of free black life into previously unexplored corners of Southern society. With the work of Carl Brazaux, Gwendolyn Hall, Kimberly Hanger, Thomas Ingersoll, and Paul Lachance on French and Spanish Louisiana, and Jane Landers, Daniel Schaefer, and others on Spanish Florida, the study of Southern free blacks is no longer an Anglo-centric enterprise, but is still very Pan-Africanish, kind of Africanized still. Indeed, it is hardly confined to the boundaries of the South, as historians have followed Southern free people northward into the Free States in Canada and southward into the Antilles and Latin America. This diaspora of Southern free blacks, traced most expansively in the work of Karen Cozy Bell and Rebecca Scott, has stretched the boundaries of free black historiography, reconnecting free people of color to the Caribbean and Europe. If often included men and women who were born free in the South and migrated to the North, like Martin Delany, and those who left for Africa, like Joseph J. Roberts, they colonized West Africa. American Colonization Society colonized West Africa, not the other way around. Many free so-called blacks, free people of color. Hey, what's up, Red Line? I saw you called, bro. I couldn't answer at the time. But he knows what I'm talking about. A lot of knowledge. So Roberts, who became the first president of Liberia. First president of Liberia, he was a free person of color or free black from the U.S. that went over there, guys. If you don't know about that whole history, don't worry, we're going to get to that. I'm going to show the sources, the documentaries on the American colonization of the West Africa, okay? We're going to go over that in a whole series. I've already planned that years ago. And Thomas Day's brother John Day, the country's first chief Supreme Court justice. So all these people in Liberia are from the U.S., right, or from America first. Now, whether they're Indian or black Europeans or both, that's something we got to get into. But if they're coming from America, most likely they weren't even Africans. Okay, but they became part of the African culture through years and mixing with the African local ones, right? 200-300 years have gone by. They might be Africans now, their descendants, right? Literally African Americans, literally. All right. Make sure. What's up, people? What's up? Blessings. As some scholars aggressively expand their free black historiography beyond the boundaries of slave states, others have moved inward into the southern interior. Slaves without masters focus on the lives of urban free blacks, in part because the free black population was disproportionately urban, and in part because of the greater visibility of free black institutions in the cities of the South. All right, free black institutions. All right, a lot. There's a lot. There was a lot. Okay. So if anybody's here, like, is not getting it, so what's Earth Girl saying, guys? Okay. So, hey Rob, hey Red Lion, man, correct any people who comes with hijack respectfully, because a lot of people come with the whole $5 Indians. You don't think black Europeans did that too? We got to get off that. And that was only in the five civilized tribes. That wasn't everywhere. The whole $5 thing, that was in the five civilized tribes area and organization, not any other tribes. So you can't say that happened all over the north with the Algonquins, or you can't say that with everybody, okay? And yeah, let's stop worrying about who's taking your status today, right? We're on a specific subject, right? This ain't about hating on other people, guys. I don't teach you guys this so you can hate on other people, all right? Other people who are just as ignorant. They don't know any better, right? Just like a Pan African don't know any better that he argued. The black folks argue with me too. I'm not gonna judge all black folks because Pan Africans still argue with me. You get what I'm trying to tell you guys? Stop looking at other people. They might have some genealogy connected to it. You don't know. Until you know the person's genealogy, don't judge. Yeah, exactly, James. Thank you. Pay attention to what I'm saying. Yeah, y'all too focused on the word Mongols and $5 Indians. Don't even understand the whole history of that. You get what I'm saying? Like you guys. Yeah, you don't want to know. Truth hurts. When you really start going into it, it's gonna hurt you if you think history is just us and them, they, we, us, them. Because them was black folks too. Where was I? Oh man. So many institutions, right? But many free blacks remain in the countryside, particularly in the upper south. The work of Ellen Esslinger and the Shenandoah Valley, Max Gravino on Western Maryland, Wilma Dunaway on Appalachia, and other students of the rural South demonstrates how free black life necessarily took a different form in the countryside. Yeah. What is true of the geography of free black life is equally true of its chronology. Slaves Without Masters treated the period prior to the American Revolution in a brief preface. New studies have opened the complex history of free people of color in the 200 years between the end of the 16th century and the end of the 18th century. So what he's saying, this author, is that on his first edition, he left out before the 1800s because there wasn't so much info in his time when he first wrote that book. And his new edition, he has more info on people from the 1600s, 1700s, free blacks. Now, I just want to remind you, when we're talking about the first slave owner in general, we're talking about a black man. 1600s. We're talking about Anthony Johnson. If you guys don't know, Google it right now. I ain't making this up. He was the first person to actually make somebody chattel under him because they were indentured servants. And he went to court with one of his indentured servants who wanted to gain his freedom. He went to court and he lost. And the judge gave Anthony Johnson that person for life. That was the first person in law put as chattel, like for life. Because everybody else was indentured servants. They had a contract, number of years. Even the Indians, okay? And the black Europeans who came. So Anthony Johnson, so this goes way back. We're not talking about just people right before Civil War were being freed. And a lot of the time they're being freed for a reason, because that's family. The contract is over or something else, not because, oh, I just want to free my slave because I'm a good man. That did happen, but a lot of times because the contract was over, or they were family, guys. They were family. So new studies have opened the complex history of free black colors in 200 years, right? That's what we went over. While these histories confirm the American Revolution, or more accurately, the age of revolutions, as a major turning point in free black life. They emphasize stark differences in the status accorded to free people of color prior to the establishment of the American Republic. So, that's a little bit of hijack, trying to say that all blacks weren't free ever. And that's when they got their freedom in the 1700s. That's hijack. Like I said again, Indians were black, Europeans were black, and a lot of them were already free and never enslaved. They came in as the property owners. A lot of the Europeans and a lot of the Indians never got enslaved. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. You got to dodge the hijack. You got to discern what you're reading. You got to understand real history, the real background, have a real context when you're reading these modern books and not generalize like they are doing. You know. That's why I invite you to please catch up if you're new. As Timothy Breen and Stephen Innes, Douglas Dean, Philip Morgan, Michael Nichols, and others have demonstrated, free blacks made up a considerable portion of the chartered generation in the southern colonies. A considerable portion. And this is them being modest. Once you start finding out who are the real Confederates and the real plantation owners and landowners, plantation just means farm, guys. It doesn't mean an evil uh, African slave factory. That's what they want you to think when they created Roots and brainwashed everybody. Right? That's what the Nation of Islam wants you to think. The evil white man, boogeyman. Oh yeah. Plantation just means a farm, and many plantations or farms were owned by free black folks, so-called black. That could have been an Indian, could have been a black European, could have been mixed with both. All right. You gotta understand that though. You guys still there? Yeah, wow. Yeah, these are difficult topics, very emotional stuff for some people. They got their whole life invested in being a slave, or the whole Pan African thing, or that the white man is the evil man, the devil, invested all their life in that. And so they get a little emotional when I start saying all this stuff, right? A mixed multitude, thank you, man. So a considerable portion was the charter generation of the southern colonies of free blacks. Even after the imposition of the plantation had shrunk the proportion, and perhaps the absolute number of free people in the black population of the southern colonies, their presence remained critical to any understanding of African American and American life. All right? Enlarging the geography and chronology on which free black society can be studied naturally uncovered new aspects of free black life, many of them given short shrifts and slaves without masters. Of these, none perhaps is more important than free women of color. From the time of European, and so they're saying African here, so let's just, from the time of European settlement, and then the Indians they were bringing over from other parts of America and Europe. Free, also Europeans, indentures, servants, straight Europeans. Hey, Elohim MB, thank you. I really appreciate that. Guys, I've said it many times. I'm on Telegram, I'm on Instagram, I'm in my Patreon page. I'm very easily to be reached, all right? Just look for me. I'm the only Kurimeo. Hey, Charlotte, appreciate you. Thank you very much for that, Charlotte. Much love. Much love to both of you. You didn't have to pay me to, I'm telling to the other guy to ask me that, It's just, yeah, I know I can see it better, but, you can reach out to me for free, guys. You don't have to pay me to talk to me. So from the time of European settlement, women generally made up the majority of free people of color in the South. I wonder why. Are we talking about Indians? As they did in other slave societies in the Americas. While this imbalance had many causes, a persistent female bias in manumission and self-purchase, and the extraordinary high rates of male mortality, the works of Adele Alexander, Kathleen Brown, Emily Clark, Virginia Gould, Suzanne Lepsock, Brenda Stevenson, Wilma King, and others reveals how women shaped both sides of the radical divide. Hey, much love, Mrs. Reed. Appreciate you. Thank you. In convents and colored balls as street peddlers, seamstresses, and housewives. Free black women define sexuality, domesticity, domesticity, religiosity, and mainland South. No, sorry, I skipped it. And economy for, they saying Africans here, but they saying black folks and Europeans, which that right here, the way they're saying this is hijacked. For Europeans and the local people, the Indians, they leave them all out. They leave them out of this book. And their descendants in the mainland South. An appreciation of how sexual divisions of Southern society cross the racial ones and help shape African American manhood and womanhood is one of the new themes of the study of Southern free people. Taken as a whole, the 30 plus years of scholarship, which is only sampled here, has transformed historical understanding of Southern free blacks. Few aspects of the historiography of the free people have not been amended, refocused, and expanded since 1974, but in large measure the premise upon which slaves without masters rested remains intact, even as many of its specific interpretations have been challenged. Free blacks caught between slaves and masters, caught between, and often between white and black, these are tags, talking about status, right? Continue to be an essential measure of Southern slave society. Straddling the boundary between slavery and freedom, their lives exposed and clarified the meaning of slavery and freedom for slaves and their owners, as well as non-slaveholders of various ranks. Yeah, this is the ergonomic or ergonomic. How do you say that for your back? Yeah, this is good for your back. All right, let me. I'm getting hot, guys. Hold on. I'm getting hot. I got this nice hoodie sweater. Hold on. Okay, let her out. Let her out. Wow. The Lion of Judah. This ain't an African symbol, guys. That's from the Lion of Judah. It doesn't mean automatically African. Color codes. Yep. Hey, Reed. Thank you. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate you. Let me see what Kayla was saying. I got the same shit. Yeah, she was just... Alright. My fault. Lion of Judah, you know. Yeah, alright. Back in my roster days, you know. Hey, G-Play, appreciate you, man. Thanks for joining. How you doing, brother? Appreciate the donation, man. Sarah Judah. Yeah, it could be Sarah, could be from Forez. You know, it's still Judah, right? Yep, from the line of Sarah. A lot of us are from the line of Sarah, man. My last name is very linked to the Zaragoza in Spain. So that was part of Sarah. Yeah, I'm not going into that. But let me get back to the reading, guys. My fault. They defined as perhaps no others did the character of race relations in the South and the very definition of whiteness and blackness, crayon colors. Whether the 2 or 3 caste systems reigned and the one-drop rule or the various social definitions of race was enforced depended in large measure on the status accorded free blacks. Free people of color defined the geography of race, upper and lower South, rural and urban, and its meaning. Reconsidering the place of free blacks in Southern social order suggests a rethinking of the structure of race, a rethinking of what they programmed you, of what they brainwashed you with in school. You must rethink and empty your cup. Slaves Without Masters. You know, she's talking about the name of the book, her old edition, right? This is the preface, okay? Again, if you just joined us, we're reading Slaves Without Masters, The Free Negro in the Antebellum South by Ira Berlin. We're just in the preface of the book. She has an additional preface from the older book she wrote, so she had a whole new preface on this one. We're reading that right now. Bless up, bless up. So slaves without masters assigned the 3K system to port cities of the lower south, arguing that as in the Antilles on the Caribbean, right, and much of South America, people of color gained a middling position that, while not equality, allowed them a fuller place in society. So a little hijack there because the so-called Europeans that they're trying to compare them to were, in general, in the Caribbean, mostly black Europeans that settled there. All right. Recent studies, particularly by historians of the law, have suggested that the three caste regime had a larger reach and that racial lines were far more porous in the slave South than those established by a previous generation of scholarship. Yet the liminality of free people, which made such an excellent litmus test for defining race in a slave society, continues to make the free people an elusive historical subject. At once they were victims and collaborators, rebels against what? And traitors to whom? Put more directly in terms of the divisions of their own society, free blacks were at various times abolitionists and slaveholders. All right? Abolitionists and slaveholders. A lot of you abolitionists got whitewashed. In the North, a lot of those people got whitewashed. They were black folks. I'm trying to tell you, I'm going to prove it to you. Don't challenge me because I'll prove it. And sometimes both, meaning abolitionists and slaveholders at the same time. Make that make sense now. Let's make that make sense. Starting down into the depths of deprivation, where most men and women of color were confined as slaves while looking up toward the great promise of equality with so-called whites or people who were free or had the status of white. Particularly, Southerners celebrated they both feared change and craved it. Free blacks were both conservative, protecting what little they had, and radical, eager to build a new social order. Now, I just want to say something. Before the 1900s, when it comes to the Reconstruction era, and we're going to read that source. Shout out to Autonomous Party, right? Home, I forget his name, man. I can't believe I forget his name. You guys know, that's a good friend. When it comes to the research, right? Not a friend I know personally, but he broke down this source where he was saying literally Reconstruction was about ending Negro rule. Ending Negro rule. Reconstruction. That whole white privilege thing came recent, guys. The whole atrocities of racial, the Southern, the segregation, lynching, that was 1900s. Before that, 1800s, 1700s, you were the majority. Let's remember what Benjamin Franklin said already in 1750, right? What he said, you guys remember? That just happened. Your disenfranchisement, your reclassification, and all that just happened. The atrocities. I'm not saying those things didn't happen, but that just happened. And right in the time right on time for these free black leaders, these black leaders that pop out of nowhere in the 1900s, right? Oh, poor us. Let's get together based on complexion. Let's all get together. Let's all be Africans, or let's all be from Mecca, right? We all Africans. We all from Mecca. All this other stuff, right? Those ain't your last names. Those are slave names. You better change your names. Honestly, the more I think about it, it sounds like agents to me. Agents of chaos. Yeah. They held tight to the status quo and at the first opportunity challenged it. This unresolved tension defined free black identity. So remember, we're in the mind of a hijack, right? So we gotta discern. As a result, free people of color were forever jockeying for position. At the outbreak of the Civil War, free people of color were among the first to volunteer their services. The first, huh? To the new slaveholding republic, huh? Slaveholding republic. See, this is the thing. This is what I'm saying. A lot of the Confederates were black. Most of the Confederates in general. This is the stuff they don't want you to even think about. I'm trying to tell you guys. Yet as soon as the Yankees arrived, and a lot of you Yankees, black Europeans, all right, heritage, I, they exchanged their Confederate grays for Union blue. Listen, what? Yet as soon as the Yankees arrived, they exchanged their Confederate grays for Union blue. Whoa! I'm gonna go back. As a result, free people of color were forever jockeying for position. At the outbreak of the Civil War, free people of color were among the first to volunteer their services for the new slaveholding republic. Why? Think about that. Why would black folks, if they're being treated as slaves, if they're from Africa and they're being treated so bad by white folks in the South, why would they be the first to volunteer to fight with the Confederates? Think about that. But when you read about blacks in the Confederate Army, those other books, they try to tell you that they were forced into it by their white slave masters, and they were just the body soldiers, meaning they took the bullets like body shields. That's a hijack. Check out my Civil War videos, guys. Check out my Civil War videos. Engine wars. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So these free blacks who were Confederates, listen, they're saying it a whole different way, but I've been trying to tell you. As soon as the Yankees arrived, the people from the North, that doesn't mean whites, they exchanged their Confederate grays for Union blue. There you go, James. Thank you, James, for your testimony. And you are a living example. Thank you. With the advent of radical reconstruction, listen, I just said it earlier. What was Reconstruction about? With the advent of radical reconstruction, some former free people considered advancing their own cause at the expense of the previously enslaved. Huh? You see that? They weren't about, oh, we all the same, we. They were worrying about their own people, their own family. Disfranchising other black folks, possibly Indians, possibly other black Europeans, right? So they considered advancing their own cause at the expense of the previously enslaved, but then quickly moved into positions of leadership within the larger black society. These quicksilver reversals represented more than sheer opportunism, for they embodied the fact that free blacks had their own interests, which was a product of their experience derived from their special status and unique circumstance. While enmeshed with both free whites and enslaved blacks, free whites, and remember that could mean Moors, free whites, Black's Law Dictionary, literally, they have free whites, Moors as free whites too. All right. So don't get confused again. Don't you gotta dodge your own hijacks. They'll keep coming in. Your own hijacks will try to bring you right back to the hijack. Catch yourself. Oh yeah, remember there was free blacks that were both European and Indians. Oh yeah, they were being called whites, and a lot of black folks did pass as white. Yes or no? Free whites. Okay. A lot of times we just talk about status. So while enmeshed with both free whites and enslaved blacks, their distinctive experience created beliefs, aspirations, and purposes different than those of either group. If some, the alleged insurrectionary conspirator Denmark Vesey and the anti-abolitionist Bishop James Healy, for example, resolved the contradiction of black freedom in a white slaveholding society, that's the hijack, and just a slaveholding society where they had indentures and plantation systems, right, where they had farms. They needed workers. Most free people of color struggle to escape twisted dualities created by racial slavery. Racial slavery. The daily circumstances of their existence, the most mundane interactions with slaves, slave owners, and white non slaveholders, That's the hijack with all the, you know, required that they keep their own counsel, sometimes collaborating with and rebelling against the regime that had born them. They could not permanently escape their divided world until that world collapsed in the rubble of wartime emancipation. Their own unique perspective informed their lives and their actions. All right, so again, this is with the mind of a hijack, thinking that all blacks were slaves at some point, and that all slaveholders were white, pale skin, So we gotta discern what he's saying here. W.E.B. Du Bois would famously call it double consciousness in a world left behind the veil. So W.B. Du Bois, we did his genealogy, Huguenot, Du Bois, right? And then on that side, and then the other side, we got everything, right? What is it? Black Belgian people, Dutch. I forget the black Bogarts. That was his mom's last name. The Bogarts, the black Bogarts were famous in Massachusetts. Prominent families, all the way back since like the 1600s, right? And we broke down their whole African false narrative, right? These were black Europeans coming in, mixing with Indians, right? W.B. Du Bois. Funny that they're quoting him here, right, with that double consciousness, right? To be sure, Du Bois, which is a Huguenot name, two-ness of black freedom in post-emancipation America took a different form than that lived by free people of color prior to the 13th Amendment. With the destruction of slavery, double consciousness came to mean something different from that which had been experienced by antebellum free blacks. But the dualism that Du Bois felt so powerfully, and of which he spoke so eloquently, was something that the antebellum free people would surely have recognized. Slaves Without Masters, building on the work of Fraser, Jackson, Johnston, Fitchett, and Franklin, articulated this essential dilemma of black life and freedom in the slaveholding South, in mapping the chronology and geography, and measuring the numerous ways free people of color defined the society that entrapped them. It invited others to explore the diverse terrain that the free people inhabited. That so much more has been learned about Southern free blacks speaks to the achievements of a generation of scholarship. And that's us here. We're still included in that. That's us. We're still breaking it down. Like, these people think they broke it down. Yeah, they helped a little bit, but they still add in the whole false narratives of white Europeans and black African slaves, right? Until they break out of that, they won't be able to tell history correctly. None of you. None of you. Nobody. But we are part of that scholarship now. Still, what Edward P. Jones called with fine sense of irony, the known world, remains to a considerable extent terra incognita. If the publication of Slaves Without Masters encouraged others with good effect to map that unknown terrain, that's us right here, hopefully this new imprint will bring others to the hunt, and with it a larger knowledge of the men and women who made a world which continues to shape our own. And that last part very important. What they contributed, free so-called blacks, not just free blacks, but blacks in general, when it comes to inventions, right, and things, culture in America, practices, innovations. It's so much, and they try to say that was all slaves, right? That was all slaves, and it wasn't. It wasn't, guys. All right, so let me just read. Now, this is the actual preface from the old book. We just read the new preface to the edition from 2007. So we're gonna read the other preface real quick, right? Again, Slaves Without Masters, The Free Negro in the Antebellum South, the original preface. The boundaries of hell, wrote Richard Wright, have never been defined. Perhaps so. After witnessing the charred remains of the concentration camps, Chazar's Dr. Hijack, the scarred flesh of napalm children, the hysterical screams of eerie silence of many Sharpsvilles who can doubt the elastic nature of evil. How about the Nakba, What happened in Palestine in 1948 when you guys got there? We don't talk about that though, right? Okay. Our 19th century forebears had few such doubts, riding high on the wave of civilization's progress, certain that God was on their side. They denounced slavery as sin and slaveholders as evil incarnate. The Constitution, which some argued protected slavery, was a covenant with death, an agreement with hell. So they're talking about indentured servitude there. It was supposed to protect that. A contract, like an agreement with hell, a covenant with death. They know that was a contract, indenture. Yet, as Wright's dictum suggests, the line between slavery and freedom was never quite what some abolitionists made it out to be. Once free, blacks generally remained at the bottom of the social order. That was during the Reconstruction era. That was during the disfranchisement, not before that. What's up, Joe? What up, Joe? What do you say, Joe? I'm almost done, Joe. Free Negroes stood outside the direct governance of a master, but in the eyes of many whites, their place in society had not been significantly altered. They were slaves without masters. Slaves without masters. Slaves without masters. So-called whites, huh? The line between slavery and freedom was not imaginary either. No matter how hard uh, the slave holders, right, or people coming in from Europe squeezed black liberty, the irreducible difference between freedom and slavery remained. Freedom allowed blacks to reap the rewards of their own labor, to develop a far richer social life, and to enjoy the many intangible benefits of liberty. So this whole preface, I can see why he did a whole new edition. It has a lot of hijack. Because remember, so-called whites or pale-skinned people were slaves too. And they were gaining their freedom during emancipation too. It wasn't just so-called blacks, and not all blacks were slaves. So this is what I'm saying. Who was the president that supposedly emancipated all so-called blacks? Wasn't it Abraham Lincoln? Who's this guy right here in the cover? Who's that guy in the cover, huh? Some say that's Abraham Lincoln himself. Abraham Lincoln was a black man, right? So all blacks weren't slaves. So just the way they're writing this preface, it's just, I don't even want to read it, man. Like, come on, I gotta correct them every second, every sentence. I'll try to word it out differently. You guys can get the book. It's on archive.org. You can read it. You can't download it, but you can read it there. Okay? Some free Negroes climbed off the floor of Southern society, acquired wealth and social standing. Well, guess what? Free Negroes had that already since America, or since Europeans started coming, and even before that, because the Indians were black too. They had wealth. They had the land. They had the food sources. That was wealth. Health. That was wealth. Dodge the hijack. And social standing. They had social standing. Chiefs, all that was here, guys. Princes, kings, blinged out. All right, blinged out. A few masterless slaves themselves became slave masters. They became, huh? No, blacks were never slave masters, Kurimeo. You're wrong. You're wrong. In fact, in their own eyes, and finally even in the eyes of so-called whites, free Negroes were not slaves. Yet neither were they free. And this is because of the disfranchisement that was going on at the time, right? They were trying to, that whole white privilege, they wanted what the black folks had. They never had it. Remember what Benjamin Franklin said in 1750, they were the minority. Yet neither were they free. Instead, Southern free Negroes balanced precariously between aspects of slavery, which they rejected, and full freedom, which was denied them. Their world straddled one of hell's elusive boundaries. So, again, we give example, William Ellison, he never went through that. He was an apprentice. His people were all free people of color. They were free slave owners. They didn't go through that. So this is what I'm saying. These examples are bad. This book explores the rough and forbidden terrain. It tells how free Negroes lived, worked, and worshipped, how they educated, entertained, improved, and protected themselves. Its purpose is not merely to describe the freeman's style of life, but also to understand how they conceived of themselves as black elite, enslaved society. Or more accurately, since free Negroes were not a monolithic caste, to understand how different classes of freemen conceived of their social role. Just as it is impossible to understand students without teachers and workers without bosses, so it is impossible to understand free Negroes, and they're saying without whites, status. Southern whites said the racial policies that affected and sometimes determined the course of free Negro life. If you look at, you're talking about 1868, right? You look at the congressmen for Louisiana, South Carolina. If the pictures are still allowed online, you're gonna see majority black folks in Congress in Louisiana, South Carolina, the Carolinas, Virginia. So what do you mean, free whites? They ain't telling the story correctly. They ain't telling the story correctly here. Free Negroes also drew on their antebellum experience. Long at the top of black society, they maintained their position of leadership after the Civil War. Throughout the 19th century and into the 20th, free Negroes and their descendants served as spokesmen for blacks. Huh. Although they were generally united with former slaves and demanding full entry into American society, their own experience and freedom deeply influenced their policies and methods. Frequently, the priorities of blacks with a heritage of liberty differed from the priorities of those who had recently received it. The experience of the free Negro caste continued to shape black life long after emancipation had eliminated the freeman's special status. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Red Lion. Okay, talk about that. I saw your question. So finally, this is a study of the slave South, as Eugene D. Genovese has remarked. No satisfactory assessment of any slaveholding regime or of any slaveholding class will be possible until we retrace its history to take full account of its specific interaction with other classes in society, whether white or black, free or slave, all tags. This status, and treatment Europeans accorded to free Negro are an especially revealing gauge of Southern society. So okay, there's a lot of hijack in this preface. Yeah. So several other ideas have shaped this book. Historians of the South have generally ignored both time and place in dealing with antebellum blacks. Kenneth Stamp, to cite only one of the best, holds time constant in his study of slavery and treats the period between 1830 and 1860 as a unit. You see? You see what periods they're talking about? That's, you've been free. That's what I'm telling you. That's what they've been teaching people. They try to focus on those years only. That's when they're starting this franchise up to the era of Reconstruction, terminating into 1900s when they're really gaining power. Other scholars constructing models of the slave South to compare with slave societies elsewhere in the Americas have presented a monolithic South seemingly imperious to change. This has distorted the history of blacks and of the slave South generally. Distorted. Whatever value such modes of explanation may have for slavery, they have none for the free Negro. The size and character of the free Negro caste were constantly changing, as was the place that Europeans were willing to grant free Negroes in the Southern society. I have therefore been careful to show how the situation of the free Negro caste changed over time, although the general boundaries of this study are the American Revolution, which created the antebellum free Negro caste, and that's wrong, that's false. Many free Negroes before that, way before that. That's false. Not just during American Revolution. The prologue reviews the period before the Revolution, and the epilogue looks into the post-war years within the main boundaries, important temporal distinction observed. All right, so they're talking about the prologue. This is the prologue. Freemen and slaves before the American Revolution. We're going to get into that on the next part of this. Again, guys, I was just introducing the book, letting you know I'm going to start reading this every chapter. He'll start talking about facts that we can actually verify, not just his opinion on what he's about to write. Okay? So that's what these prefaces are. In case you don't know what a preface is, the author tries to make you understand what he's going to be talking about, right? So he has a lot of hijack, uh, or she, Ira Berling. I don't know if it's a he or a she, but there's a lot of drop in here. We're going to talk about a lot of people you didn't know were free and their status, right? We're going to get into that, all right? We'll probably do it in nice settings, okay? Now, somebody asked me, do I have videos on Caucasians, right? The origin. And I've already said this many times, so please catch up. Okay, so I see a lot of misconceptions in the comments, so okay. I don't know what you guys are calling black Moors. If you mean black Europeans, that all black Europeans were Moors, right? First of all. And again, uh, Oren Black. So where does your last names come from then? Where does all your last names come from? If it's not from black Europeans, then it must be from white Europeans, right? I would like Oren to answer that. Okay? You guys gotta understand. Stop trying to separate yourselves from the black Europeans too, like saying, oh, they came and enslaved my Indian ancestors. Those are your last names. You have you had a new one every time you go up one generation and all the lines. You get a new last name. It's not just the one you got today. It's not just the one you're carrying you were born with. That's not your only last name. Your mom has a last name, right? Your grandmas have a last name. Your grandfathers on your maternal lines have last names. You get a new last name. Okay, so please stop doing that with the whole black Moors came and treated. Not all black Europeans came with a good status. A lot of them came as indentured servants, guys, literally almost dying on the way. A lot of them died on the way in the middle passage, the real one. A lot of them had to work hard, come here, get their freedom, you know, and they mix with Indians. So you're not a color exactly. Stop saying black Moors, black, and stop using that. Like, come on, guys, please catch up. Now, regarding where the white people or Caucasians come from, because I don't know what you mean. First of all, original Caucasians were swarthy. They were so-called black too. Okay? And even in Free Blacks, in the Black's Law Dictionary, I showed you guys, they're not even including Caucasians in that. They tell you straight up, this does not include Caucasians. All right? Now, just like all black folks are not the same, they weren't biracial. Europeans, not all Europeans were biracial. You guys got to stop generalizing, man. It's all right. I usually have a filter where it says you got to be subscribed in order to leave a comment. We got it open for everybody. I get it. I'm not gonna get upset or anything. So I just know that you haven't done a lot of research. You guys are biased. The ones doing the crazy comments, you guys are biased. You guys are biased to your truth. You're not letting go. You're not letting go. All right. All black Europeans weren't biracial. Whatever you mean by that. I don't know what you mean, because I know in general you probably mean with white or pale skinned people. That's not true. Black Europeans have existed in Europe since indigenous times, right? They are the indigenous people from those areas too. And a lot of them never mixed with pale skinned people, and they came over here. Okay? They came to the Americas with many different statuses, not just as colonists, not just as conquistadors. All right? So what I was trying to say is, just like all black folks are not the same, all skin folk and kinfolk, all so-called white people or pale-skinned people are not the same, guys. They don't have the same origin. So your question, when you say, where do white people come from? It shows me your lack of knowledge on certain things, or logic on certain things. Like, people are not, you can't classify people but just their complexion. All right? So you just quoted, hey, MC Lotto, you just quoted a eugenicist to try to debunk me. You're silly, man. That's really silly, bro. That's really silly, man. Same eugenicists that will call you an African, you're saying you're a minority, you're inferior. Eugenicists who say black folks are inferior, right? That's who you're quoting, right? Quote, why don't you go read what Benjamin Franklin said about Germans? Why don't you go quote as primary source from the 1750s instead of a eugenicist, right? Germans were very dark. Who's the Habsburgs? You think the Habsburgs were white, huh? You must think the Habsburgs and all these people were white. The Bourbons, King Louis, and all these people. You, Charles V. You must think these were all white folks, huh? Pale skinned people, huh? Yeah, run. Yeah, run, man. You got a lot to catch up on, man. Like, and I don't mean this in a disrespect, but if you like history, if you're into history, you would be willing to learn new things and emptying your cup on certain things you taught, because you're generalizing. We got to stop generalizing. I'm not upset. These are new people. I'm a Capricorn, guys. Don't mix that up with upset. I just really want you to listen. I just really want some people to pay attention, especially when they keep coming back with more and more generalizations when I'm trying to tell them something, you know? I'm trying to tell them something and then they respond and quote a eugenicist. Come on. That was silly to me. If you don't understand why that's silly to me, you got a lot to learn too about eugenicists. Same ones that think you're inferior and you will say you come from a monkey, right? So, yeah. Okay. Charles Darwin's brother literally started the whole eugenicist movement. You don't know. The same Charles Darwin who said we all come from monkeys in Africa. Like, come on now. But again, that was an introduction to the book. It's gonna get good, guys. It's gonna get specific info. All right, I've skimmed through it. I saw it. We're gonna have to dodge a lot of hijack too, though. But we're gonna read it as we go. I'll probably read it off of archive.org, just so you guys can read along. That probably makes it easier. And I will have this available when I scan it in my Patreon for anybody that wants a PDF. Hey Lotto, we've been saying that for years. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They weren't purely, and they weren't. You said they were. You literally said though, and I'm correcting you because you literally said the first comment was that they came biracially. Black Europeans came as biracials, and that's not true. All right. So, in case you didn't mean that, then don't worry about it, man. When we look at the info, when we look at the ship logs, we know there was hundreds of thousands of black Europeans that came over here. I'm gonna say it again, as colonists, conquistadors, indentured servants, prisoners of war, convicts. You know, like, I know you know, but we know. Trust me, we are informed. We are informed, man. Like, but you said they came as biracial. They didn't all come as biracial, even though a lot probably did, because they were over there amongst more pale-skinned people for a lot of years. Okay, yeah, we good. I'm good. I know you probably didn't. You know, we're good. Don't worry. Okay, yeah, man. So that was just an intro. I'm literally just promoting my next upcoming videos and letting you know about this book. Yeah, people started using color. Yeah, so yeah, Mexican is just like saying Costa Rican. That's just a country border today, right? Today, I'm talking about modern times, right? But Mexico's a melting pot. There's people that look like you, like all of you, in Mexico. Whatever you look like, I guarantee there's probably somebody in Mexico that looks like you. That's Mexican. I know a lot of you probably like, nah, I ain't, those Mexicans, those ain't us. That's your stereotypes and your prejudices, not knowing your own history, not knowing your full history, especially if you're from the 5 civilized tribes, not understanding your true history. We're dealing with fake boundaries today, guys. We're dealing with fake borders. It's an empire, not a nation. Yeah, you know, more and more like that, for real. All right. So thanks for joining me today. I told you this was quick. I just want to read a little bit of the preface. I don't really, I didn't want to read the rest of the preface, the old one, because he's adding a lot of hijack. We'll get to the info, chapter one, the prologue, and we'll start talking specific stuff. So let me just read the contents. From slavery to freedom, the free people of color Louisiana and the Gulf ports. Part two, new patterns of growth. A white man's country, white racial attitudes and policies, white man. We're gonna have to dodge a lot of hijack, and that's why we're gonna read it. I'm probably gonna pre-record it so I can explain things better. All right. All people who descend from. I don't know what you mean by that. That sounds like a very uh, West African slave narrative story, Pan African bias there a little bit. So if you're saying that there's pale-skinned people who went through biblical chattel slavery, so they're Hebrews, right? According to what you're saying, since we're generalizing, right? Hey, Science, much love, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Yeah, gotta open up. Hey, Joe, I'm ready, man. About to go link up, man. All people, okay, you're just generalizing. You're not giving me anything specific. You're not giving me anything specific. And again, white folks were under chattel slavery, so I guess they're Hebrews too, right? According to you, everybody's a Hebrew that's been enslaved in the world and chattel. Everybody, huh? Who were brought to the West where? On the road. I know you're being subliminal, man. You mean West Africa, right? Brought to the West, huh? What other West are you talking about? From where? Where's the East? What point are you starting from? Just say what you want to say, man. We already we already debunked the out of Africa theories. We already exposed the false West African to America's slave narratives. That's all false, man. Everyone was not in chattel slavery, even black folks. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, man. Even black folks that you might probably think they're Hebrews just because they're black. I know what you're doing. I know you're speaking subliminal, man. I know you're a Pan African, man. Or FBA or whatever you want to call yourself. Yeah, Hebrew's a language, either way. All right. Yeah. Hey guys, like you guys understand? I know when people throwing subliminals and all that. That's what I'm saying. You're just saying stuff. I'm just saying stuff. Yeah, I don't have no sources in the last 8 years. I'm just saying stuff, right? But you're the one on my comment section, literally just saying stuff. I got work up. All right. Kind of hard to educate me. Oh, now you're educating me. You see? But you see how I exposed you. You see how I knew you were on some other subliminal stuff, and how I knew you didn't agree with all the stuff we teach on this channel. I knew you. I knew you, man. Thanks for exposing yourself. Don't just delete him. Hide him. You don't get to talk on my channel. Don't create another account to come here, man. And he's only chatting because people that are not subscribed can chat today. Because he's not subscribed to my channel. He was here trolling the whole time, guys. He was trying to be subliminal. He was still trying to include the West African slave narratives. He was literally going off the Hebrew Israelite teaching that we are Hebrews because we were in the slave trade from West Africa. That's what literally he was trying to say, but he didn't want to say it because he knew he would have got kicked out a lot sooner. You weren't slick though. I can see that coming a mile away, man. All right. And if you guys don't like me going at people like this, you don't have to watch me when I'm doing this. You know, I gotta expose these people because they represent a whole thousands of people that I wanted to do the same. It's not about that person. Yeah, Camp Zombies. There you go. Troll Gang has arrived. Yeah. Hey, Signs, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you, man. Yeah, he's probably gonna go create another account and control again. But either way, we out. We out. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you guys are. If you do have time off from work, if you are hanging with family or gathering with family, hope it's been nice. I guess the only good things about these times of the year is that people come together, right? And they do selfless things, supposedly, right? Because that's the whole spirit of Christmas, right? Selfless, be selfless. Don't think about yourself, think about others. If only we can be like that all year round, and gather with family all year round, and just grow and build all year round, right? And not focus on idols, on idols and all the other stuff, right? That's associated to it. I got this on Amazon, all right? But you can read it online on archive.org. You can download it, but I'm gonna have a physical PDF. Well, I'm gonna have a PDF, not physical. I'm gonna have a PDF for my Patreon soon. I'm gonna scan it. All right, it's a good book. We're gonna go through a lot of info on it. Info we've already gone over. That other dude that was trolling, he refuses to go back and learn. He refuses to accept. He's stuck on his own beliefs, like a religion, just like people who think they're from Mecca, stuck on, or that think that a man is the Most High, that a man is God, a man, no other gods before me. Isaiah 43, only one Savior. All right. Yeah, you do. That's right. That's right, Joseph. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys coming through. I'll give you your what are we on? Thursday? I don't even know what day it on. I'll give you your Thursday afternoon back. Pura vida, pure life, pure love. Pura vida, pure life. Wake, arise, and be alert, man. Wake, arise, and be alert. Hey, Wild Alchemo, Spirit, thank you for being here. Thanks for. I'm glad that you think so. That you like the community. The Savior is an angel. Okay. The Savior is the Savior. There's only one. Most High. That's it. Most High. That's it. The Creator. Most High. That breath of life, man. Not men. So Orin Black is still on the Moors. I have a whole Moorish series. No more understanding. You're mad late to the game. Talking about exposing. I already been all that, but it's not about exposing. It's about trying to help people understand their biases and their religious indoctrinated beliefs, the religious mind state. It's not about going at anybody. You're stuck on, like I said earlier, about people going at fight all the Indians or Mongols. You're stuck on hating Moors, man. And again, I don't teach this stuff so you can go hate on other people. All right, you're in the wrong vibe, Oren. You're in the wrong vibe, man. This ain't about hating a whole people. It's about helping them understand where they might be misled, where they might have been misled on or misinformed on. Okay? Yeah, pure life requires awareness, requires love. Just like Hawa, the breath, Hawa, Hawa, understanding. I made you a researcher. That's beautiful testimony right there. It's not man. There you go. They need some plant healings, yeah. Sends his angels. Angels and angel. This is what I'm saying. You're making angel saviors. You said it earlier. Just trying to help you understand. We gotta dodge our own hijacks sometimes. I know that letting go of the Christian thing we grew up with is hard. I grew up Catholic. I know you guys are Christians, some of you not. Oh, that's not the same. I wasn't Catholic. Jesus, worshiping Jesus is the same thing. All right. I know that's what you mean by son of the Most High. You know, but one day hopefully you can see it's Most High over everything. Most High over. That's why we fell off, because we forgot. We didn't need a New Testament. We didn't need a new covenant. The Word was already there. the breath of life was already there. All right, angels have their job. Angels are angels. They're not the saviors. Kiowa, I'm Kiowa now. All right, I'm gone, man. You guys made me want to stay here and keep talking, but I'll do that in another setting. I just wanted to introduce the book because I did a little short on it, and I don't know if everybody saw it, but there's a book we're gonna be getting into. All right, kind of like doing a little review. We're gonna get into this book. All right. Bancroft Prize-winning historian Ira Berlin has changed the way we think about Black American life and slavery and freedom. His seminal work, Slaves Without Masters, established him as one of the leading scholars in the field and was winner of the National History Society's Best First Book Prize. Now imagine if we were able to write books correctly. They wouldn't even publish them. They wouldn't even publish because they wouldn't go with the curriculum. But these people get awards because they keep still trying to make black folks all slaves and from Africa. And that all the plantation owners were white. That's why he got a prize. That's why he got a prize. It says breaks new ground in the description and interpretation of Southern history. Berlin's sensitivity to change over time, or changes over time to its expansion of freedom and its restriction, gives his book a fidelity to human experience and how to make it a model of narrative history. Okay? Wake up and arise, Yasharala. Wake up and arise, all the nations, all the empires, all the people. Pura vida, mi gente. Much love, pura vida, pure life. Hawa, Hawa, only Most High over everything. Only one Savior, Most High over everything. Hawa.